Well, hello, Millennium listeners. It's good to be back for another episode of Millennium Live. My name is Connor Toohey. I'm very happy to be here. We have a great episode today, and I want to get right to it. We have a great company called XSOLIS, who's on a mission to break down the healthcare silos and create a frictionless healthcare system. And to talk about the company and the solutions that XSOLIS provides, we have Joan Butters. She's the Chief Executive Officer, as well as a co-founder of XSOLIS. She has over 20 years of experience in the payer and hospital, physician, and pharmacy space. And she brings a combination of insight and expertise to her position because prior to XSOLIS, she was VP and General Manager of Strategy and Emerging Solutions at Optum. So thank you, Joan, for joining us. It's great for you to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Connor.
We also have Tim Kostner. He is the Chief Revenue Officer at XSOLIS, and he too brings over 20 years of experience. He previously served as the Chief Growth Officer at WellSky. So, Tim, thanks for joining Millennium Live as well.
Great to be here. Thanks again.
So, obviously, this is a healthcare chat, and with the healthcare system the way it is in the United States today, it's important to have these conversations. So, with our audience is interested in some really great solutions, I want to make sure that our audience knows all about XSOLIS and what you have to offer. So, I'm going to open it up as a very general question to start. Is what are the main market problems that you're trying to solve over at XSOLIS, and specifically, how is the XSOLIS solution unique in solving these problems? We'll start there.
Yeah, so great, Connor. I'll grab that question. So there's no shortage of press. In fact, this morning, the news around the end of the strike for the hospitals in New York City, Montefiore and Mount Sinai. The issue at hand there was both wages, but also staff burden, overstaffed burden. And so if we think about the things that we're trying to address at XSOLIS, that's just one of them, right? Clinical efficiencies, and how do we use technology and artificial intelligence to help drive clinical efficiencies within healthcare to help address some of those real and acute problems. There's other, labor shortages, price pressures, misaligned incentives, the general cost of healthcare made more acute through inflation. Those are all the things that we're trying to do in the application of technology and artificial intelligence. I think I've taken that one step further. I think it's very importantly, and I think you mentioned in the opening statements, it's how do we do that not just within the four walls of a hospital, but across the healthcare ecosystem? And so one very deliberate approach and opportunity for us at XSOLIS is to think about ways that we connect the dots between payers and providers and reduce that friction through, again, objectivity, efficiencies, technology that aligns and allows for collaboration between those two entities. So very exciting for us to be able to address some of the very, like I said, acute problems and real problems in healthcare through the application of artificial intelligence.
One thing I might just add to that is our clients are looking to do more with less. So that's both providers and payers. So that's really our sweet spot, is how do we create efficiencies and typically in the form of reducing the administrative work that really is not doing much for us. So it's not impacting or improving the quality of care or the accessibility of care. So what is that administrative waste that we could take out of the system so we can do more with less?
That's awesome. Well, thanks for that awesome intro. And I really want to get into it a little bit more. We have some really awesome purpose-built solutions that we're going to be talking about. We have industry-leading AI. We're accelerating data-driven decision-making, and we're collaborating between the payer and provider space. We're bringing those two together. So that kind of leads into my next question is, when and why did XSOLIS grow its solutions to serve both the payer space as well as the providers? And secondly, can you name some examples perhaps of how your customers are able to realize the value and improvements when using your solutions?
Sure. So I'll take the first half of that question, Connor, and then hand it over to Tim in terms of some of the realized value. But if I think about the history of XSOLIS, we started our journey providing solutions to hospitals, acute care hospitals, and again solving some of the problems that Tim and I mentioned in the earlier question around efficiencies, objectivity, abilities to apply technology to what has typically been a very manual and labor intensive process. So in the benefit, one of the things that I love so much about our customer base is our early adopters, and even some of our customers today, they're helping inform us in ways that we can continue to help address some of the bigger challenges within healthcare. So we are fortunate to have a very innovative leader in a health system local here to Tennessee, and brought to our attention that, hey, the work that we're doing at the hospital is the same work that the payers are doing to help to make decisions about the appropriateness of care for a patient. And so the light bulb went off at the end of the day to say, if the payers are doing the same thing, why can't our solution sit in between the payer and the provider to help enable both entities to be more efficient and be more collaborative and more aligned? And so again, what I love about our customers is how innovative they are, how they push us to provide new solutions, and again, not just solutions in a vacuum, but solutions that are going to address the end-to-end ecosystem of healthcare. So that became the birth of our opportunities to serve the payers as well, knowing that hospitals were eager and hunger for ways to create that alignment, and we had some very early hand raisers within the hospital systems to say, let's go try this for payers as well, all with the end game of creating that efficiency and reducing the friction between both parties that are doing the same type of work and have the same North Star end game in mind.
Yeah, maybe just to expand on that. I mean, so for the 10 years of the company's history, we've been working with provider organizations, and again, kind of in that theme of doing more with less, we've been able to demonstrate tangible value, quantifiable value in the categories of making our clients more efficient. So principle for us is, how do we go reduce the amount of unnecessary time for the clinicians, which are in short supply, as it relates to doing functions that could be done through better use of automation, including leveraging data. So as Joan mentioned, through our history, beginning with our early adopters, we've proven out the ability to optimize workflows that were not well automated or supported by technology in the past. And really those same value props that the provider realized, again, typically clinical efficiencies, making the right decisions, reducing friction, those were the same value props that the payers were looking for too, increasingly. So, where we are today in our 10-year history, and I'll stop short of giving you specific names, but we have over 300 hospital clients using our systems today, and within that mix, 4 of the top 10 health systems. So we're very proud of our client base, and we benefit and fortunate working with them and are fortunate to have them on board. And then really in the last 3 years is when we've really in earnest shifted towards also bringing a focus to bringing payers onto the network. And really our results to date are a third of our hospital clients, that 300, are connected to their payer partners in their markets. And we're seeing an acceleration on the payer side because, again, the value props are the same. If we can help the clinical staff within the payer organization be more efficient, and if we can also reduce the friction, it is supportive of the goals of the payer. So one of the things I would just tell you in our experience is the alignment of incentives, although still a challenge as it relates to driving efficiencies, both parties are willing and eager, largely driven by some of the supply challenges on the clinical workforce side.
Congratulations on 10 years. That's a great accomplishment. And the amount of systems that you're serving is incredible. And the fact is, too, that some of our audience still may not know about XSOLIS, and there's plenty of providers and smaller systems out there that may not know you. So is there one thing that, you know, our audience perhaps should know about XSOLIS and about your technology and the solutions? Is there, and it could be even your existing clients too, if there's a solution out there that you wish maybe current clients knew more about that they could utilize?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that one, Joan, and please weigh in as needed. On the, let me give you three specific items. One is, and I think we've touched on this, but we were intentional in building a platform for both providers and payers. We are optimizing for the healthcare system, not optimizing for any specific stakeholder. And again, where we see the real magic happen is when we have alignment. And the way that we drive alignment is really through our data science capabilities. So think of AI. So it's of benefit to have both the provider and the payer on the same platform, looking at the data in the same manner in real time. But if we can provide objective data, it also allows for those decisions to be more straightforward. And on the AI front, AI is obviously a huge buzz. We are intentional in simplifying that. So we are not trying to solve all of healthcare's problems. We are not creating new medical knowledge. We're not disrupting the relationship of the provider and the patient. What we found is there's a very practical application of AI in reducing those tasks within healthcare that, again, are unnecessary and frankly not driving quality improvement. So our what I would say in terms of what I want others to know, what we want others to know is we've got a very practical application of AI, and it is targeted towards problems that are solvable and meaningful in healthcare. And then probably the third point I would make is what we wish people would know is there's also this perception that payers and providers, that there's increased friction and we're not going to be able to solve for that. In earnest, we're seeing payers step up. Again, they have many of the same challenges as our provider organizations relative to needing to find efficiencies and dealing with staff shortages. And at the end of the day, they also value their relationships with their providers. So we're seeing an increased interest in the payers wanting to get on board. And frankly, they haven't had the tools available to them. And those tools are available today, and certainly XSOLIS is one of those.
And one thing I'll add to that, Tim, that the practical application of AI, but also the measurable value of AI as well. I think that there's some misconception that that again, as Tim said, we're not trying to solve all the world's problems through AI. And there's sometimes we get caught up in is AI, can you measure the value, the tangible and financial value that it brings back to the organizations? And I think that throughout our 10-year history, we've been able to do that, right? That it's not a nice to have, it is there is a measurable outcome through the application of AI to reduce the expense and to reduce the friction.
That's great. And all this shaping intelligent decisions in healthcare is very important. And as we're coming into dare I say, the mid 2020s already. It's healthcare, it's at a stage where I think we need to make sure that it's sustainable for the future. And so in that being said, where do you see your product expansion moving forward into the future, and your portfolio of what you're offering now? Where do you see it going in the near future as we go through the 2020s?
Yeah. So Connor, you'd mentioned kind of the where healthcare is and the need for to maybe challenge the status quo a little bit in terms of how do we think about the patient journey, and one of the areas of opportunities we know is the appropriate care setting, the appropriate care in the appropriate care setting at the appropriate time. So there's a lot of buzz around the digitization of healthcare, and can patients be treated at home as opposed to having to be treated in the hospital? There's some ambiguity there in terms of the appropriateness of that patient's journey. But when we think about our trajectory and where we plug in, it's all about the appropriate care in the appropriate setting at the appropriate time, and leveraging the same methodology and framework that we have in terms of the utilization review space. So using artificial intelligence to help identify, bring to the top of the pile those patients that are maybe more appropriately cared for in a post-acute care setting or more appropriately cared for at home, all with the end game, again, is to reduce the cost of healthcare. So how do we use artificial intelligence to help identify where that patient should be treated, when they should be moved, what's the transition of those patients, and all to help clinicians better drive and make those decisions in terms of the appropriateness of care.
You know, we're talking already about the future, and you know, I think it's a topic that, you know, we cover a lot on this podcast. I like to get everybody's opinion on the future. This question is for the both of you. You know, what excites you most about XSOLIS and the future of healthcare?
Yeah, and I'll take that, Tim, and if you want to jump in afterwards. But you know, I love being the lead dog in the application of AI solving healthcare challenges. I think we've proven that through the work that we're doing, and as Tim mentioned, the fact that payers, we're leading that conversation between payers and providers in ways to create a frictionless healthcare system. You know, 10 years ago, a senior healthcare executive told me it could never be done, right? And I'm gratified to have proven him wrong. And it's been the company's rallying cry ever since. We continue to challenge the status quo in ways that materially impacts how healthcare operates. That excites me. I think that excites the organization. I think that should excite the healthcare industry in again, having us be an organization that is bringing forth ways to solve challenges that otherwise would not have been addressed, and in ways that create collaboration and alignment between providers of care.
Yeah, I mean, that's well said. I don't have much to add to that. I'm extremely excited about our ability to support our clients and drive more value into the healthcare system. So we've got a bright future, and I think it's important for healthcare.
That's so awesome. Thank you. Thanks for setting this new standard for the communication and alignment, you know, between providers and payers, you know, and health plans in general. It's going to make a better healthcare system going forward, and that's what we need right now. So before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like, you know, the Millennium audience to know or to remember? Perhaps there's a few of our members listening in who are planning on meeting with you. Is there anything that they might want to know beforehand, and to end this podcast with some wisdom from XSOLIS?
Yeah. So Connor, you had mentioned it in the earlier question about that there's a transitioning happening within healthcare, right? COVID has kind of accelerated the reasons to find efficiencies where maybe the status quo is a little bit more acceptable before. You know, I think the needs are different because the times have changed, and you know, I would hesitate to. Most leaders are looking for ways to improve cash flow, reduce administrative waste, improve productivity and job satisfaction of staff. I think the fact that that's the very squarely the space that we're playing in, and that's our mission, is what I want the audience to know, is that is what gets me up in the morning. What gets Tim up in the morning is finding innovative ways to break down the silos that exist between payers and providers, and to create a better system for all.
Well, Joan, thank you so much. It's an inspiration to be able to learn from you and to learn about XSOLIS and the solutions that you're providing and the transformation that you're making in healthcare. Joan Butters, CEO, Tim Kostner, CRO of XSOLIS, thank you so much for joining Millennium Live, and looking forward to meeting you in the future at an event.
Well, thanks for the time, and appreciate the opportunity.
Of course.
Thanks, Connor.